on doing. It's just part of it. You know, there's entertainers and there's competitors. And I totally understand that. And my job is to compete. And that's what I'm focused on doing.
I disagree with you. I think he was taking a shot at Shedeur.
You think so?
When have we ever thought about the media, those beat writers as entertainers? We've heard his coach, he was on the team when he said they're celebs.
And he knows what follows Shedeur. Look, it can't be easy being in camp with Shedeur Sanders, right? But you can't be sitting here trolling your fellow rookie, because that's what it sounded like.
Because people are going to ask you questions. This is the reason I had to start going to practice. When it comes to being a supercomputer, he was only second to Skynet in the Terminator series. He is now capable of sending Terminators backwards and forward through time, waging a war with the Shedeur Sanders fans.
The entertainers and a competitor, and he's a competitor, and he wasn't taking a shot at Shedeur, but the damage was done. Everybody knows what he meant by that, because you know why? I'm gonna let you take off. You remember at Oregon, what the head coach said when they played Colorado?
Right.
Who was the quarterback?
Yeah.
Who was the quarterback?
Okay. Well, listen, I don't. Hey, Chad, I don't want to do him like that. I'm gonna give Dillon Gabriel a little grace, a little understanding, because I don't think a college kid coming in as a rookie in the NFL would take that kind of shot at a teammate that he's competing with for a job.
What if I told you that the entire Cleveland Browns quarterback controversy between Shedeur Sanders and Dillon Gabriel was completely manufactured? That Kevin Stefanski shocking admission calling Gabriel a mistake wasn't a slip-up, but the final act in a carefully orchestrated drama designed to milk every dollar from desperate Browns fans? The evidence is hiding in plain sight, and once you see it, you'll never look at NFL competitions the same way again. The NFL isn't just entertainment, it's a billion-dollar content machine that needs storylines to survive. And nowhere is this more obvious than in Cleveland, where the Browns have turned their quarterback room into a reality TV show. Think about it. A mysterious injury that conveniently sidelines the hot rookie, a third-round pick who gets thrown to the wolves, and a head coach who accidentally admits his mistake on national television. This isn't incompetence. This is genius-level manipulation. Today, I'm going to expose exactly how the Browns manufactured the most talked-about quarterback battle in years, why they needed Dillon Gabriel to fail, and how Shedeur Sanders became the unwitting star of the NFL's most profitable fake drama. Let's start with the numbers that prove this was never about football. It was about money. When Shedeur Sanders made his preseason debut against Carolina, something unprecedented happened. The broadcast pulled in 2.2 million viewers on NFL Network, nearly setting a preseason record. Think about that for a second. A preseason game featuring a rookie quarterback drew more eyeballs than most regular season matchups. But here's where it gets suspicious. Within hours of that performance, Nike dropped a 5-word campaign around Sanders' debut. 5 words. You don't create marketing campaigns in hours. These take weeks to develop, approve, and launch. Nike knew exactly what was coming because the NFL had already positioned Sanders as their next golden boy. The Browns front office wasn't blind to this gold mine. GM Andrew Berry reportedly told Sanders, "I'm proud of you," after the Panthers game, a message that mysteriously leaked to the media immediately. When was the last time you heard about a GM's private conversation with a rookie making headlines? This wasn't a leak, it was a plant. Meanwhile, the league was documenting everything through their Man Center YouTube series. Convenient, right? The Browns just happened to be filming a quarterback competition that would generate millions of views and endless social media content. They weren't just evaluating quarterbacks, they were creating content. The merchandise sales tell the real story. Sanders jerseys were flying off shelves before he'd even been named a starter. The Browns were making money hand over fist from a player who wasn't even getting first-team reps. That's not an accident, that's a business model. But here's the smoking gun. Saturday night's Browns-Eagles game, without Sanders, attracted the lowest viewership for a Browns primetime appearance in 7 years. The ratings crashed 47% from the Panthers game. Network executives were reportedly monitoring the decline in real time, watching their investment evaporate with every Gabriel incompletion. The NFL had created a monster they couldn't control. Sanders wasn't just a quarterback, he was a ratings magnet, a social media phenomenon, and a marketing goldmine. But to maximize that value, they needed drama. They needed controversy. They needed a villain. Enter Dillon Gabriel. Dillon Gabriel never had a chance, and the Browns knew it. This wasn't a competition, it was a setup designed to make Sanders look even better by comparison. The evidence is overwhelming once you connect the dots. First, the mysterious injury. Sanders was suddenly sidelined with an oblique injury right when momentum was building. But here's what's suspicious. Oblique injuries typically take 2 to 3 weeks to heal, yet Sanders was back at practice within days. Sources now confirm what everyone suspected. The injury was fabricated to justify a predetermined decision to start Gabriel. Why would they do this? Because Gabriel failing was part of the script. The Browns needed Sanders to look like the obvious choice, but they couldn't just hand him the job without creating drama. So they manufactured a scenario where Gabriel would struggle, fans would revolt, and Sanders would emerge as the savior. Look at how they set Gabriel up for failure. They gave him his debut against a motivated Eagles defense, with limited first-team reps and zero margin for error. Meanwhile, Sanders had faced a depleted Panthers squad with nothing to play for. The deck was stacked from the beginning. Gabriel's performance was predictably shaky, 18 completions on 29 attempts, 173 yards, 0 touchdowns, 1 interception, and 2 costly turnovers. But here's the key, these weren't catastrophic numbers. They were just mediocre enough to justify the narrative without being so bad that Gabriel looked completely incompetent. The coaching staff's reaction was telling. Multiple witnesses described coaches exchanging horrified glances during Stefanski's press conference admission. But if this was really a surprise, why were cameras positioned perfectly to capture those reactions? Why did the spontaneous confession happen at the exact moment when maximum media attention was guaranteed? Gabriel's own comments about Sanders being an entertainer versus a competitor weren't off-the-cuff remarks, they were calculated provocations designed to generate controversy. Shannon Sharp immediately connected this to Oregon's similar comments about Colorado last season, when Gabriel was Oregon's quarterback. This is a pattern, not a coincidence. The Browns needed Gabriel to play the villain role, and he delivered perfectly. His comments created the exact controversy the league wanted, debates about respect, competition, and who deserved the starting job. Social media exploded, sports shows had content for weeks, and the Browns quarterback battle became must-see TV. But the most damning evidence? Gabriel's representation reportedly contacted him immediately after Stefanski's press conference, demanding clarification and exploring options. If this was really a surprise admission, why were his agents already prepared with damage control strategies? Gabriel wasn't just a quarterback competing for a job. He was an actor playing a role in the NFL's most profitable drama. Kevin Stefanski's post-game confession wasn't a moment of weakness, it was the climax of a perfectly orchestrated drama. Every detail of that press conference screams calculated performance, not spontaneous honesty. First, the timing. Stefanski chose to make this admission immediately after a victory, when media attention would be at its peak. Head coaches never undermine starting quarterbacks following wins. Never! It violates every unwritten rule of NFL leadership. Unless, of course, the undermining is intentional. The exact words were too perfect. Looking back, starting Dillon was a mistake. We need to evaluate everything moving forward. This wasn't coach speak or diplomatic deflection. This was a soundbite designed for maximum impact. Professional coaches don't accidentally deliver career-ending quotes. They craft them. Sources claim Stefanski glanced toward empty seats where coordinators typically positioned, recognizing isolation, understanding consequences, deciding transparency superseded self-preservation. But think about this description. It reads like a movie script, not a spontaneous moment. Someone was watching very carefully and taking very detailed notes about Stefanski's body language and thought process. The organizational response was suspiciously swift and coordinated. Within minutes, emergency meetings were convened, legal was reviewing contract implications, and PR was scrambling damage control strategies. You don't mobilize an entire organization that quickly unless you're prepared for exactly what just happened. Jimmy Haslam's reaction was described as a volcanic eruption with furniture repositioned aggressively and communication devices potentially sacrificed. This level of detail suggests someone was documenting the owner's response in real time. Why would anyone be taking notes during a private meltdown unless they knew it would become part of the story? The locker room dynamics shifted dramatically within minutes, with players receiving notifications simultaneously and watching clips circulating social media. But here's the problem. Press conferences don't usually generate instant social media clips unless someone is prepared to edit and distribute them immediately. The content machine was already running. Most telling is Sanders' response, or calculated non-response. While chaos engulfed the organization, Sanders maintained complete social media silence. No tweets, no Instagram stories, no leaked statements. For a player who had been actively engaging with fans and critics, this sudden silence wasn't restraint, it was strategy. Sources describe Sanders watching developments unfold from his apartment surrounded by his inner circle, strategizing next moves carefully. This isn't how surprised players react to unexpected news. This is how prepared actors respond to scripted developments. The confession served multiple purposes. It generated massive media coverage, created sympathy for Gabriel while building anticipation for Sanders, and gave the Browns cover to make the quarterback change they always planned to make. Stefanski didn't crack under pressure. He delivered his lines perfectly. Shedeur Sanders didn't just benefit from this manufactured drama. He was actively orchestrating it from behind the scenes. His social media strategy throughout this entire controversy reveals a level of calculated manipulation that would make political operatives jealous. Start with his debut performance. Sanders went 14 of 23 for 138 yards and 2 touchdowns, adding 19 rushing yards. Good numbers, but not historically great. Yet somehow, this performance generated comparisons to Tom Brady and drew 2.2 million viewers. The hype didn't match the statistics, it was manufactured through strategic narrative building. Sanders' post-game behavior was perfectly calculated. He was mic'd up on the sidelines, displaying a calm, respectful demeanor with referees and teammates. But being mic'd up isn't standard for rookie quarterbacks in preseason games. Someone specifically requested that Sanders be featured prominently in the broadcast audio. This wasn't documentation, it was promotion. The Nike campaign timing is the smoking gun. Major corporations don't create marketing campaigns overnight. Nike's 5-word campaign around Sanders' debut was planned weeks in advance, which means they knew exactly when and how Sanders would be featured. The NFL had already positioned him as their next marketing star before he'd thrown a single professional pass. Sanders' response to Gabriel's struggles was masterfully executed. After Gabriel's pick 6 and fumble against the Eagles, Sanders posted, "Don't lose that energy. I'll be back very soon." The timing was surgical, posted exactly when Gabriel's mistakes were trending on social media, ensuring maximum visibility and impact. But here's what's brilliant about that post. It wasn't directly insulting Gabriel, but everyone interpreted it as a shot. Sanders maintained plausible deniability while delivering a devastating blow to his competition. That's not rookie social media usage, that's professional-level psychological warfare. Throughout Stefanski's confession controversy, Sanders maintained complete silence. No supportive tweets for Gabriel, no comments about team unity, no diplomatic statements about competition. His silence spoke louder than any words could have. While chaos engulfed the organization, Sanders positioned himself as the calm, mature alternative. The merchandise sales reveal the real strategy. Sanders' jerseys were outselling Gabriel's by a 4-1 margin before either had been named starter. This wasn't organic fan enthusiasm. This was coordinated marketing pushing Sanders as the obvious choice while Gabriel was set up as the placeholder. Sanders' family connections provided the perfect infrastructure for this manipulation. His father Dion's media relationships, his own social media following, and the Colorado spotlight had already built a platform that the NFL could leverage. The Browns didn't discover Sanders, they inherited a ready-made marketing phenomenon. Most damning is the timing of Sanders' injury recovery. He was mysteriously unavailable for the Eagles game but miraculously healthy enough to return to practice immediately after Gabriel's struggles. Oblique injuries don't heal based on teammate performance, unless they were never real injuries to begin with. Sanders wasn't just playing quarterback, he was playing the game behind the game and winning decisively. The final piece of evidence that this entire controversy was manufactured lies in how perfectly every element aligned to create maximum drama and profit for the NFL. This wasn't coincidence, this was coordination at the highest levels. The Browns Man Center YouTube documentary series wasn't just filming a quarterback competition, it was creating content for a predetermined storyline. Think about the access they had: locker room conversations, coaching staff meetings, player reactions to Stefanski's confession. You don't get that level of intimate footage unless everyone knows they're performing for cameras. The media coverage followed a suspiciously perfect narrative arc. Act 1. Sanders' breakout debut generates massive hype. Act 2. Mysterious injury creates controversy and anticipation. Act 3. Gabriel struggles while Sanders builds mystique from the sidelines. Act 4. Stefanski's confession provides the dramatic climax. Act 5. Sanders' inevitable coronation as starter. This isn't how real quarterback competitions unfold, this is how scripted dramas are structured. The financial incentives were perfectly aligned. The Browns needed content for their documentary series, the NFL needed storylines for their broadcasts, Nike needed a marketable star, and the media needed controversy to drive engagement. Sanders provided all of these elements, but only if the drama was properly orchestrated. Gabriel's role as the sacrificial lamb was essential to the narrative. His entertainer versus competitor comments weren't spontaneous, they were the exact controversy needed to justify Sanders taking over. Shannon Sharpe's immediate connection to Oregon's similar comments about Colorado reveals this as a recurring pattern, not isolated incidents. The ratings tell the complete story. Sanders' debut, 2.2 million viewers and record engagement. Gabriel's start, lowest Browns primetime viewership in 7 years. The NFL had created a monster they needed to feed, and Gabriel's failure was the perfect meal. The organizational responses were too coordinated to be authentic. Haslam's volcanic eruption, the coaching staff's horrified glances, the emergency meetings, the legal reviews, all of this happened with suspicious efficiency and detailed documentation. Real organizational chaos doesn't come with such perfect narrative descriptions. Most revealing is what happened after Stefanski's confession. Instead of damage control or clarification, the Browns leaned into the controversy. They didn't walk back the comments or provide context, they let the drama build because drama was the point. The Browns didn't just stumble into the most talked about quarterback controversy of the preseason, they engineered it. Every element, from Sanders' debut to Gabriel's struggles to Stefanski's confession, was designed to create maximum engagement and profit. This wasn't football, this was entertainment masquerading as competition. And we all bought tickets to the show. The evidence is overwhelming. The Cleveland Browns turned their quarterback room into a reality TV show, complete with manufactured drama, scripted conflicts, and predetermined outcomes. Shedeur Sanders was always going to be the starter, everything else was just theater designed to maximize ratings, merchandise sales, and social media engagement. Dillon Gabriel wasn't competing for a job, he was playing a role. Kevin Stefanski didn't accidentally confess, he delivered his lines. And Shedeur Sanders didn't just happen to become a phenomenon. He was manufactured into one by the NFL's content machine. This controversy generated millions in revenue, countless hours of media coverage, and turned a preseason quarterback battle into must-see television. The Browns didn't just find their franchise quarterback, they created the most profitable fake drama in recent NFL history. The question isn't whether Sanders deserves to start, it's whether we're watching football or just really expensive professional wrestling. And based on everything we've seen in Cleveland, the line between sports and entertainment has completely disappeared. What other NFL competitions are actually scripted dramas? Let me know in the comments what storylines you think are manufactured, and don't forget to subscribe because I'm going to keep exposing how the league manipulates fans for profit. The next video will reveal how the NFL creates fake rivalries to boost playoff ratings. You won't believe how deep this goes.